Hi, Mel. Thank you for joining me on National Women and Girls in Sports Day. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So, sports has a huge impact in the community. What sparked your passion on joining that impact?
I grew up in an athletic household. But I grew up in a household that played basketball. Baseball wasn't a thing, but in seventh grade, I got the opportunity to start doing stats for the baseball team. And then that transitioned to, as a freshman, hey, if you want to help out with the football team or the baseball team, but you don't want to be a water girl, you go to an athletic training camp, learn how to tape. And once I did the stats in seventh grade, I was hooked on baseball. I just loved just such a different game. And then when I went to the athletic training camp, I said, that's it. I want that in baseball. And I just knew that I knew when I was young, there were no girls, but I didn't really take no for an answer. And I just kept tailoring my life and what's the next step? How do I get there? How do I get there? And so through undergrad and college, it was always how do I get into baseball? What sets me up for that? And I kind of roadmap my life to give me the best chance when I got an opportunity, which was given to me by the Marlins in 2017 as an intern.
What does it mean to you to be one of the first women on the Marlins sports team?
Um, it's kind of surreal. Like I grew up with brothers. I only grew up around guys. So for me, it's just normal. This is what I've done since I was 12. So it doesn't seem like a big deal to me because I've been in the clubhouses, I've been in the dugouts, I've been everywhere. But then when you step back, I also know when I started, there was six of us in the minor leagues. There weren't very many. So, and then even last year in Pensacola, a young girl from Texas had come to a game, and her dad was like, "We came all the way because she wanted to talk to you," which is kind of weird, crazy to think about because I didn't have. I remember when I was a my first year in grad school, a female got hired, Kelly with the Diamondbacks, and I was like, "That's what I want to do. How do I do that? Like, how did she get there that fast? How does this work?" And then you see a small 13-year-old comes and talks to you, and then you realize, oh, okay, there are other people who I'm just Mel, but other people see me as something bigger than just like, hey, I'm the girl in the dugout. Or but it's kind of cool when those moments come up and they're like, hey, we drove 13 hours just so she could say hi and see a game and see that this is what she wants to do and it's possible. Like that's you don't get used to that when people stop and say, hey,
Right. What advice would you give those young girls who aspire to be in the sports industry?
do it. I mean, it it seems hard, but at the same time, it's not hard. And especially now, people are more open to the idea of a girl in a clubhouse, in a war room, in they're starting to become more normal, and it's used to seeing us around places. And some people will respond to you, some people won't, but like, don't stop. I remember sending emails and never got a reply. I remember just thinking, how am I going to get there? But I had in my undergrad, one of my ACIs, he was just like, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to work in baseball." I said, "How are you going to get there?" I said, "I don't know."
What are some of those challenges that you've had reaching your position and how did you overcome them?
I remember I took an internship at the ESPN Wireless Sports Complex in 2012, and I remember sitting in the golf cart with one of my bosses, and she said, "Hey, that's where at the time the Brave spring training was there," and she said, "I wish I could introduce you, but they won't let you in because their training room's in the middle of the clubhouse." She goes, "So if you ever want to work for the Braves, it might be kind of hard just because that's how it's set up." And I thought, okay, well, all right, there's 29 other teams. Let's see what happens. And I was still in school, so I was kind of far away from jobs and that. But a lot of times people be like, it's hard, it's hard. And I was like, but I'm going to do it. But I'm going to do it. And then I just applied for an internship and I remember getting the phone call and the conversation started out as, well, we've thought about it and we've looked over all of our applicants. And in my head, I was like, here it is. But because you're a female and how it's set up, but then he said, we'd like to offer you the spot. And I was kind of just, I was stunned for a second because I was prepped for the other answer because that's what you get told a lot, but it wasn't. And then I just, 10 days later, moved to Florida. Haven't looked back since.
How has the industry changed for women since you've been in it?
It's become definitely, you see in the major leagues and in the minor leagues, there's a bigger push for accommodations when we go on the roads. Clubhouses weren't made for another sex to be in it, and clubhouses are adapting to that. Some of them Obviously, they're built when they were older, so sometimes accommodations are the thing. But you will see when we go into some of the towns, they may not have a locker room for people like, hey, here's a bathroom you can use. Here's this. We'll show you where you can go. And it, but also MLB is raising the standards. They're making it to where it has to become accommodating for us. The acceptance of like it's no longer weird when a girl walks into the clubhouse. I remember the first couple days I was in the training room in 17, the guys weren't used to seeing a girl. And then in 2018, after I'd been there for a year, I'm normal. They see Mel every day inside the training room. However, someone else walks in that's a female, heads turn like, who's she? Like, who's that? She doesn't belong in here. I was like, well, I mean, they're like, no, no, you belong, but she does. Who's she? But now we have multiple female trainers. You know, we've got multiple people in like scouting. We've got that our girls are around more often, and it's no longer weird just to see a female walking through a hallway of a clubhouse, walking into a training room. It's become the norm, and it's fine. It's normal. It's just normal.
Thank you, Mel, so much for joining me. But most of all, thank you for taking care of our team.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.